I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
I was with the Troop L office, which is also located at the Western District headquarters.
And is that in
Again, the
Litchfield?
Western District is comprised of, as far as the major crime offices and the troops, are 4 offices and 4 troops. And again, we kind of work all in concert together. I kind of equate it to like those of you who live in cities where there's multiple firehouses. Sometimes you only need one firehouse, other times you may need several. So we kind of work together.
And I'm going to draw your attention specifically to May 29th of 2019. What was your assignment that day?
I was assigned to assist with obtaining a copy of video surveillance from an establishment on Albany Ave in Hartford.
And what was that address, sir?
The average was 304 Albany Ave, and the point I was supposed to meet, the name of the establishment was Benji's 2 Seafood Restaurant.
Can I just inquire of the court and all the TVs are on?
The court's monitor is on.
It is on. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Hold on.
Do you have it?
Hi guys, welcome to day 7 of the Photos
Your Honor,
DULOS
with
trial.
respect to States 34, there are
We're going to be looking at some of the CCTV. One of the things that arises out of today's, out of this court day is that there were, well, let me ask you guys, there was something like 27, 28 trash cans that something was deposited in. How many times did he stop at a trash can? Anyone know the answer? I was a little bit surprised. So that's one of them. Anyone know how many times the vehicle stopped at a trash can? So the way I understand it, there's this very large number of times that things were disposed in a trash can, which suggests that there were 30 different trash cans. But I don't think that is the case. That isn't the case.
now. Did you speak to anybody at the restaurant without saying what they said, please? But did you speak to anybody?
Yes.
Okay, and were you able to download any video?
Zircon says 300.
I'm gonna actually draw your attention to this screen again, picture 1. Sir, if you need to, Your Honor, may I just ask him to
Certainly.
step near the screen? Thank you, if you can.
So anyway, as I understand it, it was mentioned a little late in the testimony. As I understand it, there are 3 trash cans that were visited, 3. And that suggests that most of the garbage, whatever, was packed in these bags was disposed at 2 or 3 of them. I've seen a little bit disposed in one garbage can where she sticks her hand out, where Michelle Draconis, you see her, well, it looks like her, or it could be her. They're saying, I mean, that's part of what's being argued here. Is that her? But it doesn't look like a lot, certainly from the footage I've seen, is put into that particular garbage bin. So, if you say there were around about 30 disposals, that's different to 30 different bins. So I must say I'm a little bit confused about it. And if you had to say, what is the total amount of bins that were used in this case, then it seems to be 3 along the roadside that we know of. And I suppose you could argue that there are also 2 in the garage where something must have been put in there because and maybe taken out as well, but because there's blood on those edges, that must have been used as a garbage bin as well. As I say, maybe someone put something in there and then removed it as well on their way out. I'm just not too clear on that. The real issue that we're sort of looking at is how are the prosecution going to link Michelle Draconis to the murder? And I'm starting to wonder how much evidence they have, because I would have thought the best place to start would be with things like cell phone data, texts, and that sort of thing. And if they're going to leave that till the end, then great. That's one way of going about it. But the longer they take to get to the point, doesn't it feel like they're not really getting to the point? Like, what is this link that you've got between her? If they don't have a link, then I don't know. There is a little bit of doubt, certainly in terms of the conspiracy to commit murder. I mean, do you think it's enough? Yeah, so there is a big difference. Do you think it's enough to convict someone of conspiracy to commit murder to have a little bit of video of someone in a truck at the same time as someone is disposing of human remains? Do you think that's enough? On the one hand, it seems like very strong evidence, but in isolation, I'm not sure if it's strong enough. What do you guys think? It's quite a big thing, conspiracy to commit murder. Well, there is someone who is near garbage. Is that really enough? That's really the issue. Anyway, so what I don't know if you guys have really watched the footage. What came out today, closer to the end, we're going to just go through some of the highlights, is how the the license plate has been altered to make it, I guess, if someone was driving the Chevy Suburban, and maybe it was recorded on CCTV or somebody saw it or whatever, then that license plate would sort of indicate that it wasn't the Suburban that they're looking for. And it just gives you an idea of how tricky and sly and subtle and the various measures that were taken, because it's like a D that is made into a B and a J that is made into a U, and what was the other one? A I or a 1 that's made into a T. It's quite a lot of sleight of hand has been used here. It's quite interesting how tricky that was. Now, in terms of the license plate, one's got to wonder who did that, who put the tape there, whose idea was that. Was it more likely to be Fotis or more likely to be Michelle? Anyway, let's continue listening to this aspect.
Does that picture or map, if you will, depict where you went that day on May 29th?
Yes, it does.
If you could please point that out.
In this area, here, Albany Avenue area, near the intersection. intersection, it's Green Street.
If I can. Um,
But the question here is, what do the prosecution have connecting Michelle Troconis to the murder?
where the knife and fork are. It says Island Fish Head Jamaican Restaurant.
I
Sir.
think so.
Is that the restaurant you went to?
It was called, as far as I know, Benji's 2 Seafood Restaurant. I don't know when this.
Okay. And that would be the Benji's in picture 2.
Yes.
At the
304
time.
Albany Ave.
So in 2019, is this what the intersection of Albany and Green looked like?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, sir, with respect to you can have a seat. I'm sorry, thank you. Did you look for a specific time frame?
Yes, I did.
What was that time frame?
The time frame was between 7 and 8 p.m. from May 24th.
And did you ask for a specific between 7 and 8 p.m.?
So let's look at what we're talking about. We're talking about on a Friday evening between 7 and 8 p.m. you decide to do a mass purge of garbage, right? Now think about that just in a casual sense. You've got children, although there's a custody thing going on, but certainly Michelle Troconis has a daughter who go to school 5 days a week. You work 5 days a week, and you decide a nice time or a good time, or a convenient time, or the appropriate time to do a mass purge of garbage is on a Friday night between 7 and 8, right? That's a very odd time to do that. I can imagine doing it on a Monday morning, or perhaps even a Saturday morning if you've decided that that's what you want to do with your day. You want to clean, or any time on a Saturday that you kind of want to clean up things. But almost the least likely time out of the 7 days of the week, I think, would be a Friday night. It seems like a very odd night to do that. And if it wasn't your garbage, if you were with a friend and that's what they were doing on a Friday night, would that be how you choose to spend a Friday night? So the timing certainly is odd, and we know that it was because we know what they were doing. Perry Morphew did something similar on a Sunday morning on Mother's Day, which was also quite strange. And it wasn't as though at the end of that he had a very clean, neat, like if you imagine that he was cleaning out his truck and he wanted to get rid of every piece of debris. Well, by the end of that, his truck was still pretty dirty and cluttered, right? So that's also what one's got to bear in mind. And as Tanny Vincent says, it was also a holiday weekend. You tend not to do that sort of thing on holidays or holiday weekends, especially when you've got children. You tend to do things that are not associated with things like chores. I'm not saying always, just typically. That's kind of how people would think. So in that respect, it's interesting if you had a boyfriend, girlfriend, and they said, I'm going to go and for the next hour, I'm going to go and dump garbage. Would you like to come with? On a Friday night, would you say yes? Would you want to go along for that? Do you want to come and throw out the garbage with me?
Normally, I kind of create a buffer, so I probably have sometime around 6:48, 6:45 to approximately 8:25. I usually give about a 15, 20 minutes on each end, just to account for any anomalies.
And did you watch the video on scene while you were there at
No,
the
I did not.
restaurant? Okay. With respect to that day when you received the video, what did you do next?
Once it was downloaded onto the thumb drive or flash drive, I transported it to my office in Litchfield. Once I got to the office, I inserted it in my computer, viewed it on the screen to make sure I had a copy. I wasn't coming back with an empty thumb drive. Once I saw that I had a recording, I made a copy of it, a working copy. And then what I do with the original is I take that and put it in evidence for safekeeping.
Was the video continuous or motion activated?
It was continuous.
And did you review that video?
I did.
And where were you when you reviewed that video?
I was at my office.
Did you have a specific assignment in your review of that video, or was there something in particular you were looking for?
I was reviewing the working copy. Again, I wanted to make sure that I successfully made a copy. Again, we'll make copies of the original. That way I can disseminate it to the lead officer or counsel, what have you, down the road. That minimizes damaging or losing the original. Again,
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about CCTV, security layers, things like that. And it's kind of the holy grail of true crime, the holy grail of if you're in a court scenario, you can probably not get better evidence other than having a crime being committed inside the courtroom in front of everybody than having video of it. Obviously, the critical aspect here is that the video has got to be quite clear and unambiguous. And that aspect tends to be the problem with video evidence. You might say, well, they've got video evidence of the crime. What's the problem? The problem is if it's not that clear, then it raises doubt. And you literally had that in the Patrick Frazee case. I couldn't, and I've been there. I've been to Woodland Park. I've been right to Kelsey Bear's home, and it just amazes me that you might be aware that there's security cameras there, like Chris Watts was aware, but commit the crime anyway. And the amazing thing in Patrick Frazee's case was the sun seemed to go behind a cloud when he entered and when he left, and there seemed to be the CCTV almost seemed to create more doubt than certainty, because one of the problems was, as far as I can remember, that there was no confirmation that it showed him going into her home. That is where she was murdered, but it didn't show him coming out, and certainly didn't show him hauling anything out either. And that almost raises more doubt than it's providing you with confirmation. I must say, in terms of the Chris Watts case, when you're trying to understand the whole Vivint security layer, how can you commit a crime in your home? Or I don't want to put it in those terms, how did he commit a crime in his home while having a security system that's supposed to prevent that? And some things, like a little piece of paper over a motion sensor, can do that. I know that when you turn off your modem, when you turning the power off can partially have the same result as well, but turning off the modem prevents any alerts being sent to your phone and it being recorded in any kind of cloud. So that would be a way to do that. And I would have been very interested to see that in a trial scenario. But I must say, besides the security layers in homes, in doorbell cameras, by the way, one of the ways that they saw Patrick Frazee was from an ATM camera. That's an ATM camera that's seeing a vehicle go by. It's quite incredible. But we're starting to see to what extent, especially in America, it's been present in the United Kingdom for quite a long time. CCTV is picking things up all over the place. It's part of the just trying to think. It's part of the Koberger case, although we haven't actually seen all of that CCTV. It's part of it was not part of the Kylie Rodney case, and that was an early indicator that she never made it back into town. It's part of the Barry Morphew case. It was also to some extent part of the Chris Watts case. I'm talking about cameras elsewhere where they saw him in convenience stores. They saw him getting money to pay the babysitter, and also his vehicle passing down Black Mesa. So CCTV is often more reliable because it runs continuously and it's meant to have a very clear view of a street than some of these home cameras, which have a much more limited view and are often motion activated. But in the same way that they have their strengths, there are, the perpetrators that are aware of their weaknesses. Where are they not looking? When do they not work? How well do they work at night? How well do they work in low light? And what are their sort of fundamental weaknesses? Can they work if there's a power failure? Can they work if the modem is off? All that kind of thing. And so digital data can have incredible strengths, but it can also be manipulated and can also have distortions in it. Sometimes someone can pass in front of a camera and at night, and it doesn't really register it, but that doesn't mean someone didn't pass in front of the camera.
Original was evidence. So as I was going through the working copy, ensuring that I had successfully downloaded it, I was aware of the vehicle, one of the vehicles, or the vehicles Photos DULOS had registered.
Welcome, Earth. Good to see you here.
While going through ensuring the copy, I noticed one of Photos, what appeared to be vehicle consistent.
Sorry, I can't turn the video up any higher.
What type of vehicle was that?
A black Ford Raptor.
Do you recall what time that vehicle or a vehicle consistent with
Approximately 7:40 p.m.
And after you saw that on the video, what did you do, if anything?
Through reviewing it, kind of monitor it, and as the vehicle.
So someone says, I'm not getting notifications. If you're not getting notifications, you should unsubscribe, resubscribe, and hit the notification bell. Okay. As Zircon says.
Play by play.
That's fine, Your Honor. It B states 35. I can play that now with,
Thank you. It's
No
sustained.
objection.
thank you. I can, sir. I'm going to draw your attention to the screen behind you. I may just have one moment.
Yes.
Okay, so while they're getting ready, I want to just say there's a stunning, if disturbing, example of a case that really requires critical thinking from all of us, from people in the industry, and that is the whole Boeing saga. Let's just go back to that. I'm just going to stop it over there. So I have put a couple of thoughts together in a video about the Boeing saga. There's so much to talk about, and it's got very interesting intertextuality with the John Benet Ramsey case, which also involves aerospace company, defense contractor, Lockheed Martin. What is going on in that particular industry towards the year 2000. And if there's any area where it requires us to think critically about the culture of businesses that we admire and the way that businesses conduct themselves and what is happening in our world when things fall off planes, it's that case. The failure to think critically in that particular case is going to cost lives. And so it's so important that we apply critical thinking to Boeing right now, not only us, but especially them, the people who work there, the people who are in charge, and also to look at, are there other businesses that operate in a similar way where it's profits trump all. So I do want to recommend that you guys watch that and follow my coverage of the Boeing saga, because it's all about the importance of thinking critically in our world. And like in the Titan submersible thing, when you put hubris in front of critical thinking, then you have disasters taking place. Right? And just to be clear, when we talk about critical thinking, it's this. It's being intellectually disciplined. It's not following the path of least resistance. It's also not just analysis. It is doing all of that in a skillful way, right? It's a process of analysis that takes you in a particular direction where you synthesize information. Analysis often just breaks information down. I think when you think critically, you do both. There's analysis and then synthesis. This is the proper way of dealing with this or that situation, right? Does that make sense? And so we want to pursue this intellectually disciplined process of thinking and practice it within this Boeing thing. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
Yes, that is an easterly view of Albany Avenue at the front of the Benji's restaurant.
Okay.
Is
When
Stephanie
you say
here?
easterly view, let me just ask you, if somebody was driving away from the screen towards the upper right, is that towards Hartford or away from Hartford?
That would be towards Hartford.
This is from earlier today, and the trial day is already finished today. It's not related to that. Welcome, Stephanie.
Oops, I can't, I hit the wrong. I apologize, Your Honor. I hit the wrong button. Okay, I'm going to stop it there, sir. If you wouldn't mind, Your Honor, may I ask him to go to the
Yes.
screen? Sir, if you can, just on the upper, if you could point on the upper left-hand corner of that video screen, what does that time, is that a timestamp? Is that?
It's 7:40,
05,
20 to 8.
2019 is the date and year.
Yeah.
Friday, and 07:40 and 55 seconds PM.
Now, after you watched this video, sir, did you take any screenshots of the video?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do with those screenshots?
Once I took the screenshots, I'd saved them, printed them out, and I ultimately disseminated it to the Troop G office.
Okay, just we want to just share our thoughts quickly for a couple of people here who have COVID. Erica, sorry to hear that. I had it a couple of weeks ago. It's really not fun. And then I think also Stephanie's husband. So sorry to hear that. I hope he feels better soon. I'm actually still supposed to go to a doctor to verify that I don't have permanent lung damage. So, yeah, it definitely is kind of a big deal. Okay, can we just pause here? Tara says we can't make a judgment about her guilt or whether it's enough on the limited testimony. Yeah, no, we definitely can't. We definitely can't. That's why I'm saying it's quite strange that we're at day 7 of this trial, and there's been quite a lot about photos and quite a lot about DNA and quite a lot about blood evidence. There's been almost nothing about Michelle Troconis. And you see her arm coming out of a truck, and then you've kind of got to ask yourself, is that their case? And one can kind of understand that somebody feels that somebody's got to pay for this crime. And I mean, the fact is, Fotis is no longer with us. So, it probably feels like for family members, there needs to be a trial. But I'm just wondering whether they've got any more information than they have.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
That is a screenshot of the Ford Raptor.
Yeah,
Is that the
it's a
screenshot
very
that you took?
slow-moving trial.
And disseminated
Yes, it is.
in picture 4.
That is another screenshot of the Ford Raptor.
And is that the screenshot that you took
Yes, it is.
and disseminated?
Yes.
So one of the limitations of CCTV is that it doesn't always seem to pick out license plates. And I must say, as someone who, covers true crime quite often, that's very frustrating. It's like you've got everything on camera except the license plate. You had that in the Caitlin Armstrong case. Well, we've got the vehicle, we've got the time, everything, but we don't have the license plate. It's not always necessary. Sometimes you can use the telematics, but I wish they would make cameras that can at least show license plates.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Do you hump the ball? You know what I'm talking about. That awful sort of embarrassing move where your hips.
Cross-examination.
So that was also kind of felt like a bit of a pointless presentation. What was that all about? That the vehicle is driving down various locations. Seemed kind of pointless. We're not going to deal with the cross-examination. Let's go on to the next witness.
It's 36, Your Honor. I don't believe there's any objection.
I'm looking at it right now. Let me just have one more moment to make sure.
Running out of, which one goes to here? This one?
Do you think she needs to?
I don't have an objection to this.
Thank you. Stage 36 admitted as full.
Okay, Mr. Quinn, I'm going to ask you to take a look behind you, please. Okay, states 36. What are we looking at?
So this is the video management system. It's called Milestone. This is where all of our cameras that we live stream into the PD. This is the system that they're stored in. It's where we can export video from and pull up different views and look at the video.
Is this what you would see at C4 in 2019?
Particularly for this case, yes, this would have been the streams that we would have pulled for that.
Okay. And with respect to, I don't know if you could see it or you need to go up to the screen. If I can, Your Honor, ask him to approach the screen if need be. Each camera viewpoint, I guess the grids, do they contain a separate camera?
Yes.
And with respect to the camera viewpoints that are contained on that screen, what area do they cover?
So each camera, so the top row of these cameras covers the area of Albany and Blue Hills, which is an intersection in Hartford. So there's a pan-tilt zoom camera, and then there's 3 additional fixed cameras or 4 additional fixed cameras that show the intersection around that area. The area of Albany and Garden, which is, these are all just the fixed cameras, and then the area of Albany and Center.
Now, you mentioned fixed cameras versus something else. What's the something else?
The something else is a PTZ or pan-tilt zoom. That's how it's labeled up there. So it's a camera that we could move around at the PD, but it's also a camera that is of a higher resolution than the other ones.
Do you guys remember that in the Mallory Beach incident in South Carolina, you actually had a camera on the bridge that actually recorded the moment of impact. Do you remember that? I actually went to that bridge, I photographed that camera, and I found it very interesting going to places around America like Moscow, where you see where specific cameras were oriented and how they were oriented. Also in the Broomfield Holiday Inn Express Hotel, and you get a sense of reality. That is that is how we saw what we saw, right?
With respect to, for instance, you said, I believe the first one, Albany and Blue Hills. Would that be that first row?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Which one is just going to say the movable camera, if that's okay?
It's the top left.
Okay. And the other 3 would be in fixed points?
Yes, ma'am.
With respect to the movable camera, was it moved during this time period? Or how are you able to move it around?
So when in a live incident, we're able to actually use the computer program to click into the live view and then dictate where we would like the camera to be pointed at.
When would you utilize that in a live instance?
So being part of a real-time crime center, we support a lot of shooting investigations that happen in the city. So when there's a shooting that cops may be responding to, we're pulling up these live feeds, moving the cameras to points where cars may be fleeing, where we're able to get a license plate and then develop that further.
Just, would you also utilize it if like the marathon or an event or anything like that?
Yes, Marathon, the Jazz Fest, all sorts of different events in Hartford.
Is that that's the real-time portion of it, the real-time crime center? For the C4?
Yes.
I just want to clarify, make sure we're on the same page. Now, with respect to Albany and Garden, did that have a movable camera?
So what is, I'm quite amused at some of the comments in chat. What are peaches? What are scouts? Stephanie's given quite a good explanation for scouts. It's people who don't have a soldier mindset, who aren't entrenched defending their thoughts or whatever. You're curious, right? Open-minded, curious, and aware that there's possibly something you don't know. Peaches might be a little bit more difficult to explain, especially on this channel.
Timeline. So it shows you the date, the time of the video. That's where it is when you're playing it. The red is motion, and then.
So something that's just hard to imagine is, although you can say it's may be quite strange to go out and dispose of evidence on a Friday evening. And let's face it, on a Friday evening is when the streets are often very busy with people going out to enjoy themselves at the end of a work week. You know, that they go out to restaurants, they go out to bars, they go out to sometimes families will go to supermarkets or the mall, and so the streets are typically busier, I would say, on a Friday night than almost at any other time of the week. So why on earth would you go and dispose of evidence on a Friday night, right? And I think the part of the answer, and I'm not saying it's a good answer, I'm not saying it's intelligent, but I think part of the answer was that they changed the license plate so that, almost assuming that they would be seen, it wouldn't matter anyway. But then the other thing to address is, what about, is this person trying to disguise their appearance? You know, the person in the vehicle, is there any attempt to disguise their appearance? What do you guys think?
As the video progresses, the bar will start to slide.
And by the way, are you able to, I guess, go back and forth between the viewing of one screen versus back to that main view and go in between?
Yes, ma'am.
So start playing. Sir, what's the time that this starts at?
7:29. I don't know what the seconds were. Can you already start playing that?
Now, I'm actually going to fast forward a little
I
bit.
think you need to look at this area over here,
And
because there's a trash can
when this is
over
playing,
there,
sorry,
right
what
next to the
intersection
road.
is this?
Albany and Blue Hills.
I think
Now,
it's here.
which road is Albany? If you wouldn't mind standing up and just pointing, if that's okay.
This is Albany here. Runs from east to west.
And there's a road over here on the right. What is this?
That's Adams Street.
Okay, and over here on the left?
I do not know the name of the street.
Okay. And over here on this green and yellow awning side, do you know what that is?
Scott's Bakery.
And is this where the camera is? Is that an intersection?
Yes, it's pointed just past the intersection. The intersection would actually be below.
Okay. And if you were traveling, say, up towards the middle of the camera, that way, if you see the cursor go.
So there's a trash can right next to the side of the road. And that is where I think the vehicle's going to pull up, sort of right where this vehicle is.
And did you utilize brief cam on this camera?
Yes.
And again, what information did you put into brief cam?
So we were given.
But just look how many kind of witnesses there are. There's this guy walking over here, the people milling about there. This is an intersection, so there's quite a lot of traffic coming by this direction, that direction, that direction, that direction. There's someone passing by on a bicycle. And this is when you're going to dispose of evidence of a murder. And I suppose you could say, you know, it's plausible deniability. Why would I, now that car leaves, you know, something that is done in such a clear way, no one's really going to notice, except somebody did. Now, can you imagine if this was done at night? What would how much would the cameras see in that case, as you saw in the Savannah Soto case?
Next to it. Is that time now, I paused it at 7:32:05.
I think so too.
Is that time picking up at 7:32:05?
Yes, ma'am. It's a continuation.
It's a continuation? Okay.
Wendy
With
says
respect
it's
to this,
strong evidence with the rest of the
I can't,
narrative.
where is this camera located?
So this is the southeast corner, right behind the telephone pole at McDonald's.
And what road is this vehicle turning down?
This is Milford Street.
And is this one of those cameras that can be moved?
No.
So let's talk about what we're dealing with here. And we can actually make a list. We can, I think I'm going to actually type it out. Timmy, I'm going to put you down, okay? Okay. So, without being like rocket scientists, what can we say in general is happening here? Well, it is the disposal of evidence on the day of the murder. Do you agree with that? Right? And I wish the prosecutor would be this kind of explicit. We're dealing with the disposal of evidence on the day of the murder, literally hours after the murder, right? So if you say the murder and the cleaning up operation was completed by around about 10 a.m., then only 9 hours later was this phase of the murder, the disposal, the covering up, everything was taking place. So you could say, you could put it in as stronger terms as hours after the murder, evidence was still being disposed of, right? Number two, it's being disposed of by the murderer. Have I spelled that right? Right? And I don't know whether legally you can't say that. Do you first have to prove that Fotis committed the crime? I don't know. But I suppose you could qualify that with the alleged murderer, right? So that might be an issue that the prosecution have to deal with. Anyway, so that's the second one. It is being done with the vehicle, and I could be wrong with this. Maybe I misunderstood. Which vehicle is being used? Is it the Chevy Suburban, the vehicle that's being used? No, that vehicle was taken to the forest and left there and abandoned there, essentially. So what vehicle, this is quite important, what vehicle is being used to do this? And what role do the counterfeit license plates play in everything? When are they put on? Which vehicle are they put on, etc.? And I think the answer is this is Fotis Doulos' vehicle, isn't it? It's being done with his vehicle. So it's being done on the day of the murder, at a very close time to it. It's being done by the murderer, as far as we know, and it's being done with the vehicle that belongs to Fotis Doulos, doesn't it? And if you take those three things, and then you say, and Michelle Troconis is in that vehicle at that time with evidence, it is quite a strong case. Do you agree? If she's not aware of it, it is a pretty huge coincidence, right? It's a Ford Raptor. But the Ford Raptor belongs to Photos DULOS, doesn't it? It's not Michelle Troconis's car. It's not somebody else's car. It's his car. Okay, anyway, let's continue. So what I'm trying to say is that is quite a strong case. It's circumstantial, but it is quite a strong case in terms of that. Now, someone was saying earlier, will Michelle Troconis testify? Should Michelle Troconis testify? I think it depends on whether she believes there's a strong case against her. If this was you, if you were in a vehicle and this was going on and you genuinely didn't know, I would want to testify. I would want to say, I often go for rides with my friend and I love doing this on a Friday night and whatever. And so I would want to provide an explanation. I think if you don't provide an explanation, either on the one hand, you think, excuse me, the case against me is not very strong, rightly or wrongly. But the other side of it is, I'm always very, I think it's a big tell when someone's on trial for murder and they don't testify. I'm not saying it's legally sound to testify, but if you were wrongly accused, wouldn't you want to testify? That's all. Oh, let's put on the volume.
Now, does Albany Avenue have cameras, or I'm sorry, not Albany Avenue, does C4 have cameras down that street, that Milford Street that was in that direction?
We do not.
Okay, are the only cameras that relate to this along Albany Avenue?
For this incident, yes.
Okay, and is there another camera that picks up that truck?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the McDonald's, is that,
That is, yep.
okay, so we're still at the same intersection, sir. Where is the Milford Street that the truck went down?
So it would be on this side. But it would
Okay,
continue down that side.
so is there a way in this road right up here?
That's a plaza entrance.
Oh.
So I can't help thinking about this. This is happening right next door to a McDonald's, right? And let's face it, Photos DULOS for quite a long time did pretty well at not facing the full wrath of the law, right? Unfortunately, he died, so we don't really know what the legal outcome would have been. But what's quite interesting is Barry Morphew also used a McDonald's. He also threw things away in a McDonald's parking lot. And I don't actually think they used the CCTV from McDonald's. I think it was a bank across the road, if I remember correctly. And maybe Barry was aware of that McDonald's don't really have much infrastructure directed towards trash cans and dumpsters, right? I just find it interesting that there's this link between McDonald's in the CCTV, between this case and that case. Don't you? It's quite strange. Thanks a lot, Liesl. By the way, happy birthday it's still happy birthday where you are. Happy birthday to Liesl, guys. Some birthday music as well. With a bit of an African touch there.
Fourth camera, area I'm actually just going to scroll back. Which camera angle is this, sir?
So this is another one of those fixed cameras, and this is just northbound. This road here would be Milford Street. This would be Blue Hill.
Attorney Manning, it is now about 11:16. We should probably take our morning recess.
Okay. Yes, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our morning recess and resume at 11:30. Thank you. Please do not discuss.
And we're back.
Let me actually go back a moment, sir, and go to this first Albany and Blue Hills camera, if I can.
So that is the area we want to look at. There's the
Your Honor, the
McDonald's, I
state is
think,
also
over there.
going to open, I believe, what was States 34.
Is that the vehicle?
All right, sir, do you see the two items, maybe a little squished together, but do you see them on the screen behind you?
Yes.
Liesel, can you tell us
Now, with
about your
respect
birthday?
to
Where were you?
The video.
What did you do?
Albany and Blue Hills. If you can, could you please show the intersection if it appears?
Yes.
I think it's over there.
And the
isn't it?
Blue Hills Street, sir?
This is Blue Hills here. This is Albany.
Okay. And Milford?
And this is Milford Street.
Okay. And there's the McDonald's?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You could have a seat. Now, did the brief cam pick up that car on another camera?
Yes.
Which camera, sir?
I picked it up at both Albany and Garden and the intersection of Albany.
Okay. Let's see if I can. What camera angle is that, sir?
So this is the intersection of Albany and Garden, and this camera is faced westbound and also kind of covers the south part of Garden Street.
If you wouldn't mind,
Yes,
sir, which street is Albany Avenue?
this is Albany Avenue.
And same questions as before. If you're driving upward away from the camera, is that towards Hartford or away?
Going westbound would be away from Hartford, so that would be going towards west Hartford.
So going towards Hartford would be bottom of the camera.
So Liesel is right. I am living at 22 minutes past 3 in the morning. The good thing about this is I can see when it's getting light outside, and so good time to take my dog walking just as the sun's coming up.
So for the record, 7:38:08.
There's an ambulance going down there. You can see it's pretty busy. There's quite a lot of pedestrian traffic there. Constant flow of vehicles. It's almost the busiest time of the week, this. It does kind of seem to be that hiding in plain sight. Do you think it was done
So I'm
effectively?
going to ask you the same question with respect to the map. This is Albany and Garden. Is that depicted on the map on States 34?
It is. Albany and Garden is the intersection here.
Actually, which side of the street is the camera angle, sir?
So the camera is on the southeast corner.
And Garden Street, if you could just point it out.
Cardin Street is here. This is all we have.
Okay. Thank you.
So why do you think it was so important to do this in the first place? And let's put it another way. Why do you think it was so important to do this that day? Why not just do it first thing that morning, the next morning, first thing Saturday morning? Why not do it then? Right? And I remember in the Patrick Frazee case that he made a comment to his mistress saying that he was going crazy sitting in his home. This because he went from Kelsey Barrett's home, murdered her, put her in a tote, drove to his home with her in his pickup, and then had Thanksgiving dinner with his family. And he said he was going crazy knowing that she was in his pickup truck. And obviously, it's not just knowing that she's there, it's also the possibility that someone could just stumble on the truck, walk by the truck, see something, and his ears are almost red with the realization that his butt is going to be on the line if he doesn't get rid of this evidence ASAP, right? And so that's really what's going on in the criminal's heart and mind, right? Is I need to get rid of this evidence very quickly because it links back to me. I need to get rid of any trace that links me to this terrible thing that I've done where I would be paying a pretty price if I'm caught. And so it's in this state of tension that you're in a rush to get rid of it, that he does what he does. And you can see that along this single street, I think it's Albany Avenue. He drives along Albany, throws a little bit of trash away, drives further down the same road, throws some trash away. He's trying to get rid of all the evidence that is so painstakingly cleaned up. He needs to separate that evidence from himself. He can't throw it away at his home. He can't leave it in the dumpster at his home. He's trying to get it away from him, right? Yeah, and that's part of that as
Now,
well.
is this a
That is what
movable
it
or
is.
fixed camera view?
This is a fixed camera.
And what camera angle is this, sir?
So this is another fixed camera view, but this is faced east.
There's the trash
The road
can.
on the right?
You're talking about this one?
Yes, please.
This would be Garden Street. This is Albany Avenue.
And same questions, Albany Avenue, if you keep driving straight, does that go to the
McDonald's.
Hartford or away from Hartford?
It's still going further into Hartford.
Okay. Now, is this a view that Brief Cam picked up?
Yes.
It's one bag and looks like a mat that might be part of a vehicle. He's taking that somewhere else. So would you say there's any attempt to disguise himself here? Any attempt to disguise himself? So Little Black Chook says, why did he pick this place? Well, the answer is convenience. He can stop right next to the trash can, get out, throw it in, and go on. Convenience, that's the answer. So if you look carefully, I'm quite surprised to see so many of you saying there isn't. he is wearing a cap, right? So there is at least that that is providing a little bit of a, not a disguise, but it's making his face hard to see. I can't tell whether he's wearing glasses. It's possible that he is. It doesn't look like he is, but let's have another look at that. Tell me if you think he's wearing glasses. You're going to get out, face the camera briefly.
That brief cam picked up.
Yes.
If I had to guess, I'd say he's not wearing glasses. Yeah. Why do you think he got rid of the floor mat? Why do you think he got rid of that black rubber mat? It's also interesting, as someone mentions, he's not wearing gloves. There does seem to be a bit of white on his hands, but I don't think those are gloves.
Another fixed camera view, but this is faced east.
And the road on the right?
This, you're talking about this one?
Yes, please.
This would be Garden Street. This is Albany Avenue.
And same questions, Albany Avenue, if you keep driving straight, does that go to the Hartford or away from Hartford?
It's still going further into Hartford.
Okay. Now, is this a view that,
Another fixed camera view, but this is faced east.
and the road on the right?
This, you're talking about this one?
Yes, please.
This would be Garden Street. This is Albany Avenue.
And same questions, Albany Avenue, if you keep driving straight, does that go to the Hartford or away from Hartford?
It's still going further into Hartford.
Okay.
So there you get a sense of what's inside the truck. So a couple of bags, none of them are there. They're kind of against this this side of the truck, and that is quite well camouflaged. It's a black truck, and there are black bags inside, and that makes them quite hard to see. And it seems like he may have used that mat to some extent also protect his truck from evidence from the bags going onto the truck. Now, bear in mind, the bottom of the mat may have no blood evidence on it, but the top may have blood evidence on it. So that might be what's going on. Because if you think about it, a rubber mat like that should be quite easy to clean, just hose it off. So that may be how he's trying to prevent the evidence from those garbage bags being left on his vehicle. I think a very important question to ask is, I don't know at what stage this is, whether he'd dumped a lot of bags before this. I presume if there were 30 garbage bags, then these are the last of them. But what do you think is in that first garbage bag that he takes out?
Now, is this a view that brief cam picked up?
Yes.
So first of all, is it heavy? And what does it likely contain? So I don't think it's very heavy at all. And it seems to contain something that's soft, like it could be a shirt, it could be a cloth, it could be lots of paper towel fragments. and lots of, a lot of what the paper towel soaked up, right? So that does seem very, very light. And if you look at the rounded shape of it, it looks like soft material. And there is something white on this mat. And one can only speculate what that is. Had they already tried to clean the mat? What is that kind of a soapy residue? What is that white on the mat? I guess it could also be, it doesn't look like it, but it could also be a manufacturer's label on it. I suppose that's possible. That's a good point, although it seemed quite small for a pillow. I don't know if you thought it was could be one pillow, but it could be those pillows that were in the garage. Yeah, I suppose it could be that.
With Photo Vibrance, you can transform any photo into a mesmerizing moving image in just a few clicks.
Actually, we'll go back a little. This camera view, sir.
So this is another fixed camera at Albany and Garden that covers the eastbound direction and northbound direction. This is Albany Ave, this is Garden Street.
Okay. This isn't one of those movable ones?
Correct.
Okay. And with respect to the garbage can, is that the same garbage can that we saw on the screen before?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the same garbage can from a different view, this one. Let's see if he's wearing glasses or gloves and what we can make out of that white stain on the, whatever the white thing is on the mat.
Now, I have a quick question, sir. Do you see that black truck that's on that screen?
Yes.
Okay. If you can, just following that up. What's the difference between the two? Did Brief Cam pick up that other black truck?
It did as a black.
Okay, but not as a Ford Raptor?
So Brief Cam doesn't specify make and model of vehicle, just specifies black or pickup. There's a few things that are unique about the Ford Raptor compared to the other truck.
And what was that?
The tonneau cover in the back, the covering on the bed of the truck. The Ford Raptor has hood scoops on the front, so little indentations on the front of the hood.
Okay, and so when you're going through this video, were you looking at all the trucks that were black and pickup trucks?
Yes, that's where we started.
Okay, and then you started.
So just in terms of that question, no, it wasn't found in the bins. It was found inside a FedEx envelope that had been thrown into a sewer. We'll get to that.
What angle is this?
So this is a fixed camera at the intersection of Albany and Center, and this camera is faced westbound.
So do you think that the mat was washed before he took it out there? Remember, all of this is in plain sight, right? Is that,
I'm gonna stop here, 73947.
that's
Do
a
we see that
different
same
vehicle.
truck, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the truck from, that I pointed out before?
I believe
Is
so,
it the
yes.
same? Okay.
So you must remember, Erica, in a courtroom, you don't simply say, okay, so like most of us would look at that and say, okay, that looks like the vehicle. What they've got to do is, yeah, they do have to lay foundation. They've got to say, this is exactly the route that it was taking. This is all the proof that we have that what we're saying happened. So instead of just saying one camera, they can use 4 different cameras, and it's basically proving that what you're seeing happened, which is different to simply presenting what may have happened. So, for example, by showing this other vehicle, it takes the sting out of the defense, possibly saying, well, look, there was another truck that looked similar. How can you be sure that it wasn't that truck or whatever? Right? And so it's showing why it's the one and not the other. Does that make sense? So Paddy says, doesn't he know it's nearly impossible to escape a camera? It's a good question. On the one hand, he may think that he is on camera, but bear in mind, it's kind of like looking for a needle in a haystack. You're looking for one vehicle on one day at one time, but you don't know necessarily what day, what vehicle, or what time. So it's not necessarily as easy as it sounds. I've got an idea. I'm going to need to make a T-shirt that has the words "bear in mind" on it, because I've been saying "bear in mind" quite a lot lately. Alf, good to see you here. So this is 7:40 p.m. Do you think the sun was still up at this point? Connecticut, sunset, 24 May.
Stop it there. So I'm gonna go back to picture 1 with the map. If you can, is the area of that intersection depicted on this screen?
Yeah. It's going to be over here.
So let's see how clever you guys are. Well, it's not necessarily cleverness, it's intuition to some extent. Do you think that the sun was still up when this footage was taken? I know Stephanie will probably know this because Stephanie lives in Connecticut. Do you think when all of this is happening that the sun has already set or that the sun is still up? You might be surprised that the sun would only go down half an hour later. Sunset on the 24th of May is at this time. That's right. So Little Black Chook says, why was he so meticulous with Jennifer but not the disposal of this evidence? Well, it was the end of a long day. That's one possible aspect. But it's, yeah. I don't know if I would say he was that meticulous with the garage crime scene. It was still left in a fairly messy state. If you ask me, I would say the garage crime scene and this are actually kind of similar. It is kind of nonchalant. It's trying to dispose of evidence, but not as carefully as you'd imagine.
Yeah, it's about, the camera's about,
Okay,
it's in between, Green and Center.
so Green Street is right here.
Yes.
Where is Center?
This is Center Street here, like north-south.
And this
That's also
restaurant,
true.
Island Fish Head Restaurant. Do you recall? Do you know if you do if that was Island Fish Head Restaurant in
Don't believe it
2019? I'm sorry,
No,
it wasn't, or you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it does seem like the key to Michelle's involvement is going to be her phone data. And so the question is, did she delete it? Is it available? When are we going to deal with it? Yvette, where are you from? It's a very interesting name. Yeah, no remains have been found in this case. So this is another garbage bin, also right by the side of the road. Easy access. That's what he's thinking about. I need to do this quickly and easily. Stop and go. That's also a very important part of it. The fact that she provides him with an alibi, right? She provides someone suspected of murder with an alibi, then that changes, is also quite damning. If not damning, it's certainly quite compelling. I did mean to check that out. It's, I think 4 or 5 miles, but let's try and find out.
Is this the same camera that we started with?
Yes. Milford Street, Albany Avenue, Blue Hills Avenue, and the camera is located in this southeast corner.
Is the camera angled towards Hartford or away from Hartford?
It's faced west,
So away from Hartford?
away from Hartford.
Thank you. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to
Albany Avenue.
74721. And again, sir, this street that's up here on the right, where the cursor is, do you see that?
That's Adams Street.
Recordings just got better.
Okay, so Stephanie, can you help me out here? Is this in Hartford or is it in Thornwood? Because it's not coming up as Hartford in my map here. So I'm just a little confused. Or is it, I'm just trying to see, Stamford, Albany Avenue, New Canaan. Or is it Stamford? Well, it's Albany Avenue. I'm just wondering, Albany Avenue in which town? Because there's Albany Avenue in Thornwood, which is about 20 miles away. Isn't it closer to here? is it in Stamford or is it in Thornwood? So I did look at Hartford, but at Albany Avenue doesn't come up when I do that. Let's try again. Albany Avenue. Oh, there it is. Albany Avenue, West Hartford. Okay. Well, that doesn't look right. That does not look right. That's where it's taking us now. I'm struggling to find this. Definitely struggling to find it. Albany Avenue, Hartford. Well, according to that, it is almost 75 miles away, if that's correct. It doesn't seem right to me. Is that the right address? Doesn't seem right to me. Does that seem right to you guys that the disposal of evidence was almost 80 miles away? Because if that's true, then it again makes one think of the Morphew case where the disposal of evidence or the disposal of something seemed to be some distance away. Maria, thanks for joining us. Okay, so is that correct? Yeah, you did say that. Okay. Okay, well that appears to be it then. Well, we've clarified that. So there the vehicle is stopped again. This is the very inculpatory CCTV with regard to Michelle. There's the trash can. You can see she's over there, and they're fiddling around with something. Does it look like she's on her phone? Looks like they are having some kind of conversation. Have a look at this section here. Now he gets out. He's got something in his hands. She gets out. He goes up to her with whatever's in his hands. They look at something down there, and then that's it. Now, again, do you think this is enough evidence to convict somebody of being an accessory for murder? Again, bear in mind, it's happening on the day of the murder with the murderer, possibly. And with evidence related to the murder. So that is quite a good view of him. It doesn't look like he's wearing glasses, does it? Can you see something's going on here? Look over there. And the impression I get is at this point, does he say to her, don't get out the truck or something? And it does seem like something is on the floor of the truck that they've been trying to collect. Something's on the ground at their feet that they've been trying to collect. Doesn't look like he's wearing glasses to me. It's, I guess, possible. So there's her foot. There she's reaching down, and he throws something away, but not everything that he's got with him. Throws something away, and then he's still carrying something with him. And at this point, he seems to bend down, and looking at something on the ground on that side of the truck. So something else that's interesting to think about is, why is he wearing a white shirt? And I think there could be two reasons for it. The one is, even three reasons. The one is that if any evidence is on him, he can clearly see it. Another one is perhaps it's the whole hiding in plain sight thing. If anyone says they saw him, that he's wearing a white shirt like Alex Murdaugh was, and they can say, no, he's wearing a white shirt and I didn't see anything on his shirt, and so that's supposed to be a sign of, well, your hands are clean, it couldn't have been, you couldn't have been involved in anything murderous if your shirt is white. I wonder whether it's not the same kind of thinking. And also, possibly it was a shirt he didn't like and he was going to throw away. Yeah, it could be. Could be that. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, sir. If you can have a seat. Your Honor, the state's intention at this time is to ask about the witness and inquire about some further video that was obtained. I believe there's an objection to it at this time.
Well, that's fairly general, so the court does not know what the video.
The state's intention now to play states 37 and inquire for the witness, Your Honor. Sir, if I may, Mr. Quint, prior to playing anything, were you asked to get, or was further video from C4 regarding the intersection of Albany Avenue and Garden Street obtained?
Yes.
Okay, and what time period?
We were asked to stay from the 24th to the 30th.
Okay. Was brief cam used at all during that time period?
I don't recall.
Okay. Was that video given to anybody?
Yes,
Who was it given to?
the state police.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state would offer 512 I can play it for the,
So let's go on to the next witness.
Brett Atmore, BRETT, ATTMORE.
And your affiliation?
I'm with the Connecticut State Police.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Did you catch that?
Fire
Connecticut
owner.
State Police.
actually, it's good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
What is your current assignment with the Connecticut State Police?
I'm the resident trooper in Barkhamsted.
Okay, how long have you been the resident trooper at Barkhamsted?
2.5 years.
Prior to that, what did you do?
On and off, I've been a patrol trooper, and then
Where were you when you watched this?
I was at C4 in Hartford.
Did you have any other officers with you?
No, other than maybe the random Hartford police officer in the building. No one from our agency.
Now, after watching this video clip, did you take any action?
I did.
What did you do?
I notified my supervisor.
So someone asked, why are we going through it so slowly and why is it done in the way that it's done? You must remember the police have got procedures and protocols, and if they don't verify information, even if it's the correct thing, if it's not done in the correct way procedurally, there's also the, what do they call it? The chain of evidence. If that chain is broken, you could argue that the evidence has been contaminated or been counterfeited, or that someone added something somewhere. And so all of that's got to be established in a courtroom, that chain exists and that chain can't be challenged, I guess. And so it's to some extent that is what they're trying to do. I do agree that this prosecutor does seem a little slow, but it does seem a little slow and disjointed.
Supervisor Matt Gonzalez about what I'd seen.
I don't really know why it's necessary to
Trash
go
being
through the
dropped
same
off
evidence twice.
multiple City of Hartford garbage cans in order to get an evidence collection team to go and access those or seize the contents.
When you notified your sergeant, when did you do that?
Right after I saw it.
Were you
That-
still physically at
I
C4 when
was,
you
yeah.
called him? Oh,
So what is really interesting here and quite important here is that they were actually able to find the garbage that was thrown away and find what was in it. And that's something that hasn't really been revealed in much detail until now. What was in that garbage? What was thrown away?
why did you do that right away?
Just in the event that the trash got picked up, got meddled with, I don't know. I wanted to have someone out there as soon as possible.
And what
Robbie
date was
Robin,
this?
thanks for
What was the
joining
date?
us. Take care.
30th
The
of
30th
May.
of May?
Yeah.
With respect to the screen behind you, sir, if you can draw your attention, if you could watch 7:39:26. I'm going to stop it at 7.
What's quite amazing here is there's a witness right there. You know, has he really chosen the best place to do what he did? There's a guy right there. So it does seem brazen and reckless, doesn't it?
39:38. With respect to this garbage can, did you notify your sergeant with respect to that,
I did.
as well as this one?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you look at other cameras as well?
I did.
Which ones?
There was one captured,
Videos.
believe it was around 3 p.m.
And after watching these videos and informing your sergeant, did you review other video from C4?
I did.
What video did you review?
There was more video of the corner of Albany and Garden, and it was played up till I think. Okay, it does.
And what was the time?
6:51 a.m.
Okay, I thought he was gonna, I haven't actually watched all of this, but I thought he was gonna provide some information on what was in the garbage. Doesn't look like he does.
I'm gonna draw your attention.
As far as I know, it's this officer who tells us about the number plates that came out of the sewer. So let's listen to that.
I'm a sergeant with the Connecticut State Police.
Sergeant Buton, you may be seated.
Thank you. Sergeant Buton, good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Sergeant, how long have you been employed with the state police? Approximately 16 years.
Sorry, that's already the cross-examination. I don't think it is this. Is it this guy? We're going to look at the license plates now and how they were doctored to make them look like the numbers and letters were different.
And I'm just going to begin with displaying a photograph labeled 683_0001. Sergeant Buton, do you recognize that photograph, sir?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell the jury what that photograph is?
That photograph is a picture of the white envelope that was recovered from the storm drain on Albany and Blue Hills on
And
Friday, May 31st.
Did you witness this envelope in the position it is in this photograph?
Yes.
Showing you photograph labeled 683_0002. Are those the license plates?
Yes, they are.
And did you view these license plates in their position?
Yes.
As they are in this photograph?
Yes.
And this is photograph 03 in that file. These are the same license plates. Is that?
So do you notice anything wrong with these license plates? Is there anything that seems a bit strange about them?
Yes.
Actually, if we could just leave that up for 1 second. The license plate here reads 5T6WBU. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
While you were present, were any efforts made by state police personnel to run these license plates?
Yes.
What were the results when these license plates were run?
I called into dispatch and ran them as they are, and they came back to nothing.
When you say they came back to nothing, what does that mean?
It means there was no record found, meaning no such plates existed in the Connecticut DMV database.
And so after you received notification that no such plates existed, did you notice anything about the sequence of the letters and numbers themselves?
Well, yeah, we noticed that they were a bit odd. Typically, plates that were issued out like that were would start with 3 numbers and then end with 3 letters. And obviously,
So that is already giving you an indication to think critically, right? They have these license plates in kind of an unusual setting, to put it mildly, the license plates are in a FedEx envelope, and the envelope is in a sewer underwater, right? And when they take the license plates out, only well, I don't know if locals would know this. Do you guys know that the format for license plates in Connecticut, is it the same across America? Is 3 numbers followed by 3 letters. And so that does make one wonder, did the person who did this, was he not a local to the area, or was she not a local to the area? So 516 becomes 5T6. And I suppose you could say that Fotis wasn't from the area. Fotis was from, a foreign country. He was Greek, and so he was a foreigner. He wouldn't know, but he studied in America. He was a student there. He'd lived in America much of his life. Between Fotis and Michelle had been in America a lot shorter space of time, maybe 2 years. It's an interesting thing to think about. Stephanie, would you know that the license plate format in Connecticut is 3 numbers followed by 3 letters? Because Terry says in California it's all numbers. So doesn't that indicate to you that there's a strong probability here that whoever did this was new to Connecticut, relatively new to Connecticut? And then the question arises, who was newer, Fotis or Michelle? Because a question around this is, who did this to this number plate, license plate? Who was more likely to have done this to the license plate? Okay, that's interesting. So there's another possibility. Someone says, when I lived in Connecticut, I didn't know that. So maybe it's a very speculative line of questioning or reasoning, and so it's not going to take you anywhere. Maybe that's also a defense argument, right? Michelle didn't grow up in the US. She can't even speak English. Or she can speak English, but not very well. She's actually in court with having the trial translated to her. That's quite an important point to remember. Well, I don't know for a fact that it is like that in Massachusetts, but we know it's for a fact like that in Connecticut. Oh, okay. I haven't heard a lot of her speaking, but to me, she doesn't sound fluent in English. That's my impression.
Obviously, here you have a letter mixed in with the numbers, so that was odd to us. And to Detective Fitzsimon's credit, he actually, with his gloved hand, started to mess around with some of the characters that looked funny to us. And that's when we realized there was some effort made to alter their appearance.
And when you say that there was some effort made to alter their appearance, can you be a little bit more descriptive?
Yeah, yes. So if I may, can I?
Yes, sir.
So this T here, when Detective Fitzsimons messed around with it, we could see that the top portion actually wasn't the plate itself. It was some type of blue tape with like a clear adhesive. That's the best way I could describe it. So this character is actually a 1. The same here. this was made to be a B, but it's actually a D. And then here we have what is supposed to be a J with the extra material added to make it appear to be a U.
So were you able to discern what the actual plate numbers and letters were?
Yes,
And was a subsequent search done for those particular plates?
yes, it was.
Who did that?
I did.
And what were the results, sir?
So I called dispatch back and ran the plates the correct way, and they came back canceled on a 2007 Chevy Suburban that was registered to Mr. DULOS.
May I have this marked for identification?
Yes.
I think it's a full exhibit by agreement.
Yes, I just want to make sure what's in the envelope is what I think is in the envelope before we do that. That's my only, I don't want to be surprised, so if I can just see what's in there.
So one would want to know,
Oh, yeah.
was it tested for
For a
DNA?
moment, I probably won't have.
Was it tested for DNA? Surely something that is as labor intensive as as that, changing effectively 6 letters would leave DNA in some way. It would be very hard to imagine there wouldn't be some kind of evidence left behind. Fiber, hair, DNA. One wonders.
Where's it?
Come.
And if I were to show you license plates, would you recognize them?
Yes, I would.
You have some gloves in front of you, sir.
Oh, very good.
So at this point, I'm just going to ask, well, firstly, let me ask a preliminary question. There is evidence tape on this particular exhibit, is that correct?
Yes,
And there's also what appears to be numbers DSS 19002984.
So I just want to deal with Terry's question. The footage of her reporting is in, is it Spanish? Just trying to think. Well, it's certainly not in English. It's for ESPN, but I think it's ESPN in Spanish for Venezuelan TV, right? For South American television stations.
Or that's the state laboratory number, is that correct?
that's correct.
So these license plates have been sent to the state lab since you seized them, is that fair to say?
That would be accurate, yes.
I'm just going to ask that you cut open this envelope and just peer inside and tell us what you see.
Okay.
Okay, so why do you think, instead of just showing the evidence, why do you think he's handed it in a sealed envelope? Why do you think he's wearing gloves? Why do you think, in view of the jury, is unsealing this? Why do you think all of that is done in this way, right? And the answer is to show that this is the evidence collected and it has been preserved and no one has been interfering with it. In other words, it's to show that they're not trying to frame or alter or interfere with the evidence in some way. This is a very sensitive part of the case in terms of evidence that has very idiosyncratic changes made. And what they're trying to show is that the police didn't make those changes. The changes weren't to the license plate weren't done while it was in their chain of custody, right? That's what this is all about. Yeah. That's it.
Two category license plates that,
Is there anything else in the back, sir?
have to open it up a little more to see, sorry.
And so do you see how in a courtroom, there's a totally different level of being what I call very anal, where you really got to show very, very clearly that something is what it is. Whereas on YouTube, you simply say something and people believe you or they don't believe you. In a courtroom, the standard is much, much, much higher because the stakes are extremely high. Someone's life is at stake. You are presenting evidence, and this evidence has got to be absolutely reliable where you make your case, right? And it's a much, much higher standard in a courtroom. He's still trying to open it, right?
Yes, there is.
What else is in the bag?
It's a white FedEx envelope that the plates were.
Are these the objects that you seized on May 31st, 2019?
Yes, they are.
Judge, I move it in.
I need to see what else is in the bag. I just don't want to bring it to the gloves of them.
There are.
We could just maybe do it over here on the side.
Okay, so while they're doing that, if I may, something that just bothers me in terms of this aspect of the trial is I don't know where, in terms of the map and in terms of the CCTV footage, I don't know where this is recovered from. I understand it was recovered from a sewer. Now, I'm not sure if I missed it in skipping across the narrative of today, but it's just so we've dealt with the disposing of evidence, but maybe there should be some continuity between those garbage bins and where the sewer is. Maybe they'll get to it, but that should have been done in the same narrative. Don't you agree? So this was disposed of here, this was disposed of there, and here's the sewer, and a photo of the sewer and where the sewer appears on the map. It feels like we're just jumping into a particular evidence item. And maybe we'll go to the evidence items in the garbage in the garbage bins, but I'm definitely feeling a little mixed up in terms of the narrative, aren't you guys? Unless I've missed something.
Items that were in there will have to be to a different witness. So as long as those are kept separate, I'm fine.
And is that stage 40?
This is states 40, Judge, and just for the record, there are several smaller envelopes which we're going to tie up through another witness. Attorney Schoenberg is asking that we do so. I have no objection to that. However, I do want to keep everything together at this point. So these can.
They are going to show the plates. They will show the plates.
40A through, 41A for identification purposes only, and just keep everything together.
So Susan is saying it seems like the kind of thing she thinks Michelle would do, and that's where it's quite important to know what kind of person is she, what were her hobbies, what was she quite artistic, also who had access to this tape, bearing in mind it's the kind of thing that you might have in a construction situation. So yeah, the question is, are they going to be able to find any DNA on there? But bear in mind, it was found submerged in water. So that may have some kind of impact. What's happening?
Good afternoon. Please be seated. Thank you. Right, they're coming in.
Leo, welcome. So we do know that part of her role, she was someone who was a communicator. She's someone who did marketing, who did promotion. A lot of that is about making something look a certain way. And I don't know if there's a better way of saying that the license plates appear to be false advertising. The license plates appear to be something that is advertising whatever it is, but it looks some different way. Now, what I'm going to say now is highly speculative. I don't know the answer to this, but what I'm suggesting simply as a possibility is if they can prove that Michelle did the manipulation of the license plates, in other words, if they can show that there's DNA or fingerprint or fiber or other evidence that links the license plates to Michelle or links Michelle to the license plates, then I think you're getting to a really strong possibility, if not probability, that Michelle may have been involved. I mean, if she's going to be changing the license plates, that suggests she must know why she's got to change them, doesn't it? Do you guys agree with that? That is this the thing? Is this the thing that links Michelle to the crime? Is this one of them? And that's exactly it. This would be huge if they can prove this. Now, let me play devil's advocate for a second. If there was negligible evidentiary value, if there was not much to be seen or talked about on those license plates, I don't think they would be presented in court in an envelope the way that you saw. In other words, if they're not going to talk about any evidence on the license plates, then there would be no point in packaging them. You would simply say, can you see that they altered? Yes, well, great. So I think this is heading towards something, although it felt like that with a nanny testimony as well. Doesn't it feel the same way to you, that the license plates seems to be quite significant? I'm not sure why you're saying that's evidence on the license plate. What's he said, she said about it? Now, unfortunately, the hearing doesn't go much beyond this point.
You can
It's
bring
just
Sergeant Butin back in.
another 15 minutes. So that's a good point.
We can bring the jury in, please.
Yep. It does seem that way, doesn't it? So this is where you would really want to know a little bit more about Michelle. Is she an artistic kind of person? Is she someone who's worked with handcrafts or something like that? When she's in court, does she doodle? Does she draw little things? We know that she has a somewhat creative interest in psychology, where she's used horses to what's the word? Horses to as a means of therapy. But one does wonder, is she part of an artistic family? Is Fotis an artistic person? So one would be quite interested in that aspect, because we know that is an aspect with Patsy Ramsey, and I think there's quite an artistic element in the Ramsey ransom note, like just the idea that you would write the ransom note, you ambidextrous, that you could write the ransom note with your other hand and disguise the writing in a way that would fool most people. That's pretty clever. But you can imagine an artist and someone who's quite clever with words might be able to do that.
Will council stipulate, please?
Yes, Judge.
Thank you.
Yeah, so if you take that, and I know someone who works in event management. When you have events, don't you make banners and posters and flyers and basically have words on a banner, or words on a billboard, or words on a plate of some kind? And isn't it about choosing the right text and choosing the right shape and choosing all that kind of thing? Isn't this playing somewhat into that psychology? Thanks, Stephanie, for that comment.
Handing you what's been entered into evidence. States, I'm just going to ask that you take out the license.
It is.
FedEx envelope.
Okay.
So I don't know about you, but this seems like a heck of a legal song and dance, just about taking license plates out of an evidence folder. It seems like they've spent a lot of time just doing this one thing. Surely it's because it's got some because it's evidence of a potential inculpatory nature, right?
So I'm going to just begin with the license plate, which is on top there. The license plate itself, first of all, can you display it for the jury? Now, the license plate that we're seeing, which has been introduced to evidence of State's Exhibit 41, has the adhesive that you saw on May 31st been removed?
Yes, it has.
And that was obviously done subsequent to your seizure, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you just display the next plate also? And similar situation, the adhesive that you had discussed earlier has been removed, is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm just going to ask if you could.
So do you remember what the original, not the original, what the manipulated license plate looked like? It was 5, and then, like I said, possibly the person who did this was unfamiliar with Connecticut. And so that which should be a number 1 was changed to a T, and that letter D was changed to a B, and the J was changed to a U. And if you think about it, it's quite clever, because the 3 the three opportunities to alter this were quite well chosen. You couldn't easily alter the 5. Perhaps you could make the 5 into a 6, but you would see that it was altered. Turning the 1 into a T is quite clever, except knowing that it's a number. The first 3 digits do need to be a number. That wasn't so clever. Turning the D into a B, that was quite well done. And to the naked eye, the officers did accept it at face value. And turning a J into a U is also quite clever. So it was done in a way that certainly initially fooled those who saw it, even officers.
Just fan out the FedEx envelope for the jury as well.
Very crafty, right?
Thank you, sir. And you just please put it back.
Tammy Wells, good to have you here.
Before we proceed, we would ask the photographer during the course of the testimony, please return to the designated area.
So another thing to consider is there are children that are associated with these adults. Could the children have been involved in some kind of art or crafts where they did something like this that may have influenced, even inspired the parents? That's something else to consider. But there's something really interesting that we know intertextually about when we're dealing with things like tape. There's something that we should expect to find where there's a lot of tape used. What is that? And the big thing that we can infer in this particular instance, where there would have been a lot of tape cut off. Remember, it's not just one license plate, it's 2. It's not just one letter, it's 3 + 3, that's 6. That's a heck of a lot of cutting, fiddling, and manipulating of tape, which is also telling you there's a heck of a lot of opportunity, like writing a lengthy ransom note. There's a lot of opportunity for evidence to be left behind. And so what kind of evidence could be left behind, right? And it is specifically things like hair, clothing fibers, fingerprints, but especially things like hair that can be left on the sticky side of the duct tape, and also possibly even DNA, right? And so you've got all of these opportunities for someone to leave their own a trace of themselves on the sticky side of the tape, also on the other side, fingerprints. And the sticky side would, you'd imagine, be protected to some extent from the water that it was disposed in, right? It would provide a little bit of a protection against the elements and things like water. So in the same way that the duct tape in the Ramsey case was a great area to collect and protect that aspect of the crime scene, collect things like fiber, hair. There was beaver fur hair that was found on there. Certain kinds of fibers were found on there. We can really expect the same thing in this case. Does that make sense? This is the magic, the incredible gift of that intertextuality gives. You can see right into another case this way. And so this is what we can expect, right, from this case.
Turning states 41 to the clerk.
Exactly.
Sergeant Buton, are those the items that you seized from the sword drain on Albany Avenue on May 31st, 2019?
Yes, they are.
And did you subsequently turn over those items to Detective Matthew Riley of the State Police.
Yes.
If I just have a moment, Judge.
Yes.
Nothing additional at this time, Your Honor.
In cross-examination?
Thank you.
So I may have missed something, but I'm still not quite sure on what vehicle were these license plates. Were they on the Ford Raptor? Does anyone know? Were these fake license plates, were they on the Ford Raptor? I'm presuming they weren't on the Chevy Suburban, although this defense lawyer is about to make the case that the license plates that are being shown in court now, originally belonged to Photos DULOS, and they are associated with a vehicle he owned in 2007. And it's not the same as the Chevy Suburban that belonged to Jennifer. Yeah, I don't know.
These license plates, Exhibit 41, you indicated that it came back to a vehicle that had been owned by Photos DULOS, correct?
Yes, sir.
And as I understand it, that was a 2007 Chevy Suburban, is that correct?
That is correct.
As far as I know, no. Like I said, I'm a little disappointed and confused why they don't show photos of the sewer where they were found. Maybe they will still, we'll see.
That Chevy Suburban and these license plates, let me withdraw that and ask it a different way. The license plates had been canceled for many years, correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
The Chevy Suburban had not been registered to Mr. DULOS or his company for many years, correct?
That's accurate, yes.
At least, you said at least since 2015, if not earlier, right?
I don't recall the exact day, but that sounds about right.
The reason I'm asking to clarify, there's been some testimony that he owned a Chevy Suburban in 2019, correct?
I believe it was a newer model, yes, sir.
That's what I was going to get to. So that model had its own registration, right?
Correct.
And different license plates, right?
Yes.
This was a vehicle that he had owned maybe prior to 2015, if not several years earlier, right?
At least as early as 2007, yes, sir.
Well, when it was.
It's a 2007 vehicle. So.
Right.
So the defense are sort of saying that, well, these license plates aren't really associated with Michelle, they're associated with Photos, right? How would Michelle get her hands on these license plates? Well, bear in mind, she worked with Photos.
Right, but I'm saying it had ceased to be registered to him.
Also, she lived with Photos. She was in the vehicle with Photos.
Him at least before 2015, correct?
I can't give you the exact year when they were canceled without looking at the teletypes, but that sounds fair enough.
Right. Well, there may be some evidence of that further down. I was just trying to remember if you recollected that when you did you said you had somebody run those plates, right?
Yes, I did.
And that would be through the Department of Motor Vehicles, right?
Well, yes, sir. So a dispatcher would use the collect system, which accesses the DMV database. Yes.
Yeah, and for the record, collect that's what it's called, COLLECT. They can look up old motor vehicle registrations, right?
Among other things, yes, sir.
And license plates.
Yes.
And see who was the last person to have those plates registered to them, correct?
Accurate, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. When you testified that you saw a female, or that you described the video that was at that location near, I think it was Green Street, correct?
Maybe in between Blue Hills, yes, sir.
Blue Hills, okay. So when you described that, you said that I think the words you used, that it met the general description of what you understood to be Michelle Troconis, right?
Yes,
And you gave a general description of her to the jury, right?
yes,
And you're aware that Michelle Troconis told your colleagues that was in fact her in the Ford Raptor, correct?
I am now, yes.
And you're also aware that she told your fellow state police officers that the driver in fact was Fotis Doulos on that day, right?
As I sit here today, yes.
Right, so when we're talking about it looks like maybe, at least my client told the police, yes, that's me and that's Fotis Doulos in that vehicle, right?
Okay, so if we look at Blue Hills on here, let's just do that. I'm trying to see where we can see a storm drain or some kind of drain. Does anyone know where this particular drain was in Hartford? There's Albany Avenue. There's something crossing it. And there's Blue Hills Avenue. Let's go back to that. There's Blue Hills. Albany Avenue and Blue Hills. What are you guys saying? The thing is, I don't really understand why they don't show it on a map or in a photo, unless I missed it. But let's have a look at this point. Anyway, so that's something we still need to get confirmation of, is where's the storm drain, and yeah, what really happened, or the sewer, right?
Yes, sir.
And although we've watched a number of different angles, you sat at C4 headquarters in Hartford and watched the various cameras, right?
Yes, sir.
But so that we're
So Terry says it's where Michelle leans out of the truck, but we still don't see the drain there, do we? We still don't see the drain. We don't see anything being. So there's the McDonald's. I'm going to jump out of the timeline. Just go back to this point. I don't really see a drain here. You know what I mean? This is where you sort of see her, unless the drain is down there. Oh, I guess that actually makes sense. That actually makes sense. So it's a drain that is right next to the sidewalk. Let's see what happens when the vehicle pulls away. Oh, now things are starting to make sense. If the vehicle pulls away and there's a drain over here, and we saw that she stepped out of the vehicle right here, isn't that a drain over there? Then she may have actually put something in over there.
Sir, did you take any action with respect to anything really after watching this video?
Again, I notified my supervisor about the location.
No, you also mentioned.
So there you can see her bending over, and he's got something white in his hands.
In the sewer grate. Where is that located on the screen?
Kind of right up by the passenger door.
So did you catch that? So that's something I did miss. So it shows you how subtle things can be. Where's the sewer grate? It's on the passenger side. That's that side.
Of the truck.
If you wouldn't mind, sir, if you could go up and point.
I think that's the edge over there.
And for the record, pointing to the middle right side. Thank you, sir.
Then he goes there, he bends down. Did you see he put something in there as well? Did you notice that?
Of the truck.
If you wouldn't mind, sir, if you could go up and point. And for the record, pointing to the middle right side.
So watch, he's going to dispose of that in his hand in there. There he puts it right in there, over there. So, you know, someone was saying, why does he do this in plain sight? Well, it's not so easy to see what he's doing even when you're watching him, right? You can't actually see that very easily. There, although it's plain sight, the vehicle is actually obscuring the drain. But that is, I think, a very good evidence of Michelle getting out the vehicle right by that drain. And if her fingerprints are on that envelope and on the license plate, then that's going to be very hard for her to explain, I think, right? So I'm glad we saw this because it was starting to look like it didn't make sense, but it also doesn't make sense if you're not paying enough attention, right? And we have been skipping a little bit through this. She's going to drive off, and then we want to
And
see.
you also mentioned, I believe, Albany and Green. Was that correct?
Yes.
Then may I'm going to go to camera if I can.
So it's at this point, it's somewhere along here. There's a drain. So let's see if we can. Let's see if we can find that on Google Maps, just to get a proper view of it. Okay, I'm going to just go out for a second. We're going to look for the McDonald's. McDonald's in Albany Street, Albany Avenue. Let's get. I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm a little confused. Where? Oh, there's the McDonald's. Okay. So we want to go to this point over here. Slightly up from there. there's a car blocking our view here. There are a bunch of trash cans there, but as soon as we go too far this way, we can't see what's going on there. It seems to be behind this vehicle. Except now it doesn't seem to be there. Is this the right McDonald's? You guys see another drain somewhere? I don't. I'm looking for a drain over here. I certainly don't see it. You saw one where? Unless, is that it? I feel like I just want to go there and drive there myself. Anyway, it seems to be somewhere around here. I'm trying to just get independent confirmation, right?
States 34.
I must say, when I look at it from this perspective, it doesn't look the same. It's not the same kind of fabric. There are these big lamp posts. Well, they are the lamp posts.
All right. Sir, do you see the two items, maybe a little squished together, but do you see them on the screen behind you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with respect to the video, Albany and Blue Hills, if you can, could you please show the intersection if it appears?
Yes.
Okay. And the Blue Hills Street, sir?
This is Blue Hills here. This is all of it.
Okay. And Milford?
And this is Milford Street.
Okay. And there's the McDonald's?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You could have a seat. Now, did the brief cam pick up that the video, Albany and Blue Hills? If you can, could you please?
Albany and Blue Hills. Let's try and get this. Okay, this is what I'm looking at. trying to get street view here. Does this look closer or better? Car wash. There's the McDonald's. Well, that's right where we were. So this is definitely the right orientation. And so we really want to look at this point here. It's supposed to be somewhere here. The thing that I'm not seeing is this sort of trash can. This sort of trash can on the other side of the road. Oh, okay. Isn't that it? It's a drain, but it's the wrong way, facing the wrong way. Or is that it? Okay, McDonald's, where are you? Yeah, anyway, I tried.
Show the intersection if it appears.
Yes.
Okay. And the Blue Hill Street, sir?
This is Blue Hills here. This is all the way.
Okay. And Milford?
And this is
Yeah, it's a graded rectangular
And
thing
there's
set
the
into the
McDonald's?
tar,
Yes.
right?
Okay, thank you. You could have a seat. Now,
Okay, so anyway, I must say I've learned something. I don't know about you guys. So basically, I must say the thing I imagined was a sewer, and the way they were describing it, that it was like an open sewer and there was water, and it was dumped in a separate location, and they sort of dredge all the water out. They talk about this somewhere in this testimony, that they do pump all the water out the sewer, and then I think this envelope kind of got stuck on the pipe, and then they found what they found in it. So they were actually really lucky to be able to retrieve it. And then what I think is so crucial here is Michelle Troconis. Let's say Michelle Troconis is innocent, right? 99 Mitford Street. Wasn't that where I was? Let's say Michelle Troconis is innocent, then she's right there where critical evidence is being disposed of, literally under her nose. Are we meant to assume that this is, in other words, right in front of her, evidence is put into a drain, into a sewer? Doesn't she ask about that? And isn't that why she opened the door, to prevent a view from that perspective? Was she not asked to open the door so that perhaps someone couldn't see him putting it in there? Maybe she said, I'm not going to put it in there, and so maybe that's why he did. Has he folded up that FedEx envelope around the number plates to make it easier to slot inside the drain. So let's just have a look if I can find what's at 99 Mitford. Mitford in Hartford, right? Pratt Apartments. No, Mitford. 99 Mitford. Yeah, that's not coming up. So I blame the prosecution for making this so kind of dull and not very distinct. Even their map is very unclear. So they really could have done a better job just showing this. I mean, here you are watching the trial, trying to figure out what they're actually saying. I find it, is it Milford? Okay, no wonder I can't find it. Milford Street, Hartford. Okay, I'm not going to spend any more time on this if it's not this. Okay, so it's apparently here. Where's the McDonald's? There it is. Yeah, and that is where we've been. That is the right address. So it should be right behind this vehicle. See if we can go a bit forward. I don't see it. Is it behind that vehicle? Unless it's something in these shadows. I don't see it. I don't see it. Am I missing something? Anyway, I tried. So, I mean, that's just something that bothers me is why can't they show us a good photo of that drain? And just like go there with a photographer and take a proper photo with perspective. Why must we struggle to figure out where it is? So anyway, that's the issue. Maybe Stephanie can do that for us if she's not too busy. Stephanie, how far is Hartford from where you are? Is it maybe 10 miles? Is it asking a lot for you to go there? 27 minutes. I don't know how you feel, Stephanie. I still feel like I want to get on a plane and fly to New York, get off the train, get off the plane, get on a train, and go to this freaking spot and just see what's going on there, right? Don't you have that feeling? So anyway, if I know your husband's sick, so it's probably not the best time to be drain hunting. But the thing is, we can't see this great, and you know, the proof is in the pudding. Okay. Anyway, so there's a little bit more clarity in the question of this live. It's actually supposed to be what connects Michelle to this this case. This, I think, is the strongest connection yet. That the license plates that have been tampered with, that have been designed to mislead, that are part of the disposal of all these other evidence items, are disposed of right under her nose. And another question is, did she throw anything into that drain? Because she's right there. Why does she open the door and there's a drain right there? Why does her door open with a drain right there? If she's on her phone and she's innocent and she's got nothing to do with it, why does her door open at this one point? What does Helen say? So is there anyone else who lives in that area? Maybe you guys can get us some clarity. Could be that. But I do think the case is becoming stronger, even if it's not being presented very well. How and why Michelle could be part of a conspiracy. The next step is really, is there anything linking her to those license plates? Like I say, given the amount of tape, there seems to me to be a very strong possibility that they may have found fibers, hair especially, DNA, fingerprints, who knows, we'll see. We haven't heard that, as far as I know. Her explanation was that she was on her phone the whole time. She didn't know what he was doing, but she was certainly interacting with him at this point and moving out of the vehicle at this point as well. So that's definitely, I think, of concern to her lawyers. The green and white awning. Oh, there it is. Well, unless there is a drain, but I'm not sure if it's the one we're thinking about. Is that the drain? Because in the footage, they are. See, in the footage, the McDonald's is in front of them. That's the problem. The McDonald's is in front of them. Can you see that? That's the McDonald's there. And that doesn't quite make sense here, because here the McDonald's should be in front of you. You see what I mean? So you're absolutely right. There's a drain here, but the drain needs to be with the McDonald's in front of you. Isn't there a drain over there? Just over there? It's just too difficult to see because there are too many cars interrupting the view. But it seems like it could be here or should be there, doesn't it? Anyway. That's a drain, it's not the drain. But I mean, that gives you an idea of what we're talking about. And I presume you could stick something in that slot there. You wouldn't get it through there. You'd stick it through this slot here, wouldn't you? And down. Right? Okay. Yeah, that's quite a good point. I think they probably could be or would be. Anyway, the birds are chirping outside. Timmy wants to go for a walk. And I'm gonna bid you guys adieu. This was day 7 of the trial. I do think as sort of winding as the route was to get to where we got to, it is quite a strong. It is quite a strong aspect to the case against Michelle, if not the strongest. So we'll see what happens in terms of the analysis of those plates. That'll probably be next. I really want to look at her cell phone records. I must say that to me is also going to be interesting. But if there's direct evidence of her on those plates, that's going to be pretty compelling. Okay, so that's it from me. Timmy says goodbye. And so do I. I'll see you guys probably around about the same time tomorrow. I'll be doing a review unless it's kind of earth-shattering testimony. Then I'll cover it live. Okay. So I hope you guys have a good sleep. Right. Take care. Thanks, mods. Thanks. I think there were a couple of super chats. Thanks for that. And I'll see you guys next time. Sleep well, sweet dreams. Ciao.